Okay, so themes are quite a bit different. Theory, I think after you evaluate your case, after you start pulling apart those good facts and bad facts, maybe you're even going to rank the importance of some of those good facts. What's my best facts? What's my best couple of facts? Put those up at the top of the list, put them at a different font, put them in caps. Once you sort of pull apart the case like that, really what happens is your case theory kind of pulls forward. I know what we have to do now. Our theory is this company was negligent in the way it drove the car because, and that's our theory. If we prove that, if the jury believes that, then we will prevail, we'll be successful. We'll get the damages that we seek in a civil case. A theme is different. A theme is sort of what are you going to use? What tool are you going to use? What phrase? What word? What analogy? What are you going to use to help explain why you would win? What are you going to use to help explain your case from your perspective? And there's a couple different versions of themes. Sometimes it could be, a couple different words that have alliteration that rhyme that'll just stick in their head. What I'm trying to do is I'm operating on the assumption that these jurors hearing this case for the first time, even though I've lived it as the trial advocate, even the mock trial advocate, um, they're not going to remember some of the specific names. They may not remember the dates. They won't remember some of the players involved or different parts of the testimony. But if I, the broadest way, describe here's what this case is about, here's what we're talking about. This was a crime of opportunity. What happened here was a problem, and it was a problem for the defendant that he had to solve. Some sort of thematic language that your hope is if the jury remembers that, if they remember that theme, if they remember that phrase, that analogy, that imagery that you draw up that explains your case, then the rest will follow. They'll have the broad concept. They'll actually start to see the case through that broad concept. And then they'll say, I don't remember that witness's name. I don't remember the second witness's name. But I know that they were saying that it was a crime of opportunity. And that witness spoke to the fact that the opportunity was made because they left work early and left the door open. So they can fill in the blanks because it all feeds from a theme. It's really an interesting part of mock trial because we think of law school and we think of sometimes lawyers in general as lacking creativity, or that law school kind of pull the creativity out of us. Themes is one of those places that compels you to be creative. You should actually know your case, know those facts, know your theory as to why you're going to prevail, know the witnesses, the type of testimony you want from them, the exhibits that are going to come in through those witnesses. You know generally where you want to be at the end of a case when you or one of your colleagues is standing up in closing argument, because I want to have proved this. I want these words to come from witness's mouth. I want these exhibits in, and we're going to make these arguments from them. We've organized it in this way. So knowing all that and our team knowing all that, how do we explain it? What kind of cover can we put to it? And that's one good way to think about this. Okay, so in order to explain thematic language, which can include an analogy, I'm going to use an analogy. And there's a couple of them that fit, and I'll try to give you a few different ones. The best one, and the one I like, is a book cover, right? If you think about a book, this is our trial right here. And the book cover is just plain, not much to it. But you know that when you buy a new book or you go to the library to take out a book, I hope some of you still do that, that you'll have like a paper cover, a kind of slick paper cover that goes over it. And it could involve lots of different colors, lots of different fonts, lots of different images, all different ways that you can kind of present this book cover. That's really what a theme is. And interestingly, it's might be the least important thing going on here, because that book is all the hard content that you worked on, the questions that you're going to ask witnesses, the arguments that you're going to craft for your jury addresses, the good arguments that you're going to make to the judge for objections and responses to objections. All the good stuff and all the hard stuff that you've worked on for the past month is the book. You're really just saying, what am I going to put on the cover? How am I going to help explain all that good stuff in the book to my audience, to my reader? Well, as you know, even though you worked real hard on that 90 to 95% part, what's the part that's going to be most memorable? To the jurors, to the audience, to the readers, Yeah, they're not going to remember people's specific names. They won't remember some of the facts or the dates or how they line up, but they'll remember that book cover. And if that book cover can speak to the broad brush, sort of theme, the overarching theme of what's going on inside. So, like I said, sometimes it's a word, sometimes it's a phrase, sometimes it's a quote, or sometimes it's an analogy itself. You know, he he robbed the store because it presented an opportunity and he took it. Okay, you're that. It's not a theory. It's not why you win. You win because he committed the elements of robbery. But you're explaining it to him with this idea of opportunity, that something was available to him. He saw his chance and he took it. Well, that's a possible theme, and we could workshop it. We can clean it up. But if you're 90 to 95% there, you already have the trial set. You have the basic questions you're going to ask. You have the arguments you want to make. You can try on in a practice a different theme. You can try on, this was a crime of opportunity. He saw it and he took his chance. Put on that book cover and see how many times in trial you can kind of pull that through. Maybe there's a different place in my opening statement, in addition to kind of putting that theme up front and saying those words up front. Maybe I could say, and then when he thought he locked the store owner left. The door was ajar. It wasn't locked. There was the opportunity. I get to revisit that one word in the theme. I get to play off that one word in the theme later on in my opening statement. And then maybe I pull apart a different part of it. And that's when the defendant, seeing the door, walking by, probably having no plan before that moment, that's when he took his chance. That's when he seized his opportunity. I get to use those thematic language. I get to pull that through. And maybe there's a question later on of a witness at trial. Um, uh, was there an opportunity for the defendant to be in the store without anyone else there? Yes, there was. When was that? So I'm talking and I'm explaining my questions even in terms of opportunity or chance. So you workshop it and you see how many ways can we use the word opportunity. And then, like any good trial team, you're going to say, how can this be used against us? How can this backfire? How can they take our thematic language and the way we're trying to explain the case, and they're going to use it? You might have a really good teammate who's thinking, listen, if I were the defense in this case, and you guys were talking as the prosecution team about a crime of opportunity, oh, I think you got the wrong guy. So I think you're seizing the opportunity to just try to put this case down and quiet the noise out in the community of arresting someone and bringing someone into court. You're the one taking the opportunity prosecution. You're the one that's seeing your chance and taking it. And I'm going to argue that in closing. I might sit on it all trial and just bring it out in closing. So a good trial teammate, an ideal trial teammate, is going to bring that stuff forward now in practice and say, well, here's the way it could backfire. And then maybe we'll try a different one. Just like the store door was open and it gave him this chance, he went through it and he never looked back. Now we're not talking about so much opportunity. It's just that once he went in there to commit a crime and he never looked back. And maybe we workshop that theme and that language. Maybe there's a quote that involves sort of not looking back or opportunity that we might be able to use or take parts of. So think very carefully about themes as how am I going to explain this case to an audience so that they remember my perspective on the case, what I think. Okay. I think that he took an opportunity. I think he took a chance. I want to explain that. I don't just want to explain robbery generically, or I don't want to just explain crime generically. I want to explain this person on this day seizing that opportunity and going to that store and doing what he wasn't supposed to do and committing this crime. You're not going to remember my witnesses. You might not remember some of my exhibits. You're going to forget names, dates, and specifics, but you'll remember that door was open and he seized that opportunity, and I can win, and you can remember my theme just like you remember the cover of this book.